Hello and welcome to another Random Code stream. I have to move my camera down because this is a coding stream, not a gaming stream. So that's where the camera goes for the coding stream. So I'm going to move on with this thing that I was working on starting yesterday, which is basically adding interception to system reflection emit calls so that it creates a file and debug sequence points in the assembly. Hey, Mitch. And we're going to continue to move on with this. So let me get my music going. There we go. All right. So yesterday where I left it off was here. So we were trying to find these things. And now we want to at least do something. My first thought is let's not do the interception part just yet. Let's just make sure that we're picking up some of these calls, if not all of them, you know, and put them into a C# file that just has comments in it. And then we can write tests against that to see that we're actually picking things up. Because then once we do that, then we can write the interception code. That's actually going to be a little tricky in the sense that I've been glossing over this, but there has to be some state kept around that I can reach up into when one of these calls has happened so I know which symbol document to use, you know, those types of things. And I was thinking about this, maybe using async local, you know, putting shared state in there. But then when I was reading Andrew's very nice document on interceptors, that he was suggesting that you put everything like the attribute you make in having file scoped, which was actually kind of interesting because it will still work. Because what he's saying is when you generate the code all the way, I don't think he shows you what the code actually looks like, which is a little disappointing, but he puts this here, and then he has a class that has all the interceptors for each one that he has to put the grouping or the intercepts location there. And then that intercepts the call to call his fast method. Now the point of all this is scoped file, yet the compiler will still pick up that these attributes are on this type and do the interception correctly, which actually made me go, you know what? What we could do is put everything basically into one file and make it file scoped, because then there's no arbitrary way for somebody to be able to reach up into this state and do anything with it. It's specific to that file scope. So that's going to be a little tricky to write because then everything has to be emitted, you know, and does it actually compile and work? So again, baby steps on all this. So I think what we're going to want to do is, out of this, is at least return the name of the type and the name of the method. So we want to have I gotta look at something here. Okay, we'll do that. So we'll say here return and what we want to return is, well, we don't even, I mean, technically we can just do this for now. So one moment while I do a whole bunch of copy pasta. Okay. type. Constructor. And then we'll say here, this is a constructor builder. And then here, this is a method builder. And there are other ones, again, we'll add those on later, but right now I'm just focused on a very specific proof of concept example. And once we get there, then once I know that works, then we can add in the support for everything later on. Okay, so if we get down here, this is something we don't know about, okay, which is fine. And then we'll say here dot where is not null. Because that's the string, because what comes out of here might be null. So now we have here a bunch of strings, okay? So we go back and look at his example. We can get the interceptable location eventually. We're not going to do that right now, but that's the intent, is that eventually we'll get that. Okay. So now we can do context register source output, where the source is locations, and we want to say I want to check something here real quick. Yeah, we do. Oh, that's not the way I usually do things. I usually put the name of the type there. So create output. Yes, so sorry, I'm looking at a couple things here just to get my source production context and the source. Whoops, semicolon. Okay, can you generate that? Thank you. Except, okay, now I'm going to want to come here and do the fashionable equatable array. The thing that everybody copies. So, analysis, equatable array, we'll copy that. And we'll put that here. And then we'll say here, emit debugging. All right. So we'll say here, this is an equatable array of string. And then what we're going to do here is a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, what don't you like about this? It's an action, right? A source. What is locations here? What am I doing with my life? Okay. Can I say here? No. As there is no. Okay, I think I got to do this. 2 new equatable array of string, and then that, that. Didn't like that. Why didn't it like that? So this is an incremental values provider. This is an increment. I've hated the incremental values provider thing. It's like, it felt like they just made this so much more complicated than they needed to be. What is... Okay, that is kind of what we're getting to. So I guess what we're saying here is what we could do is, okay, we'll do copy this var x. Can I say here new equatable array of string locations? Why doesn't... Oh, well, now I got to do this, right? Still doesn't like it. Oh, it's right, because in this case, there's only one. And so even though we're passing into multiple, there is only one here. Sorry, I'm struggling with these very simple type things here. They should be very locations. Wait a minute. Oh, it's because, okay. Nope, doesn't like that either. Nope. God, so if I said immutable right here of string. Okay, why does his code? He has locations here. He does where. In this context, I don't even know what this enum interceptions is. It's not even listed. Okay, so this is getting whether you can support a certain language. This is getting whether that is not null and then select. So it's combining this to that. The left and the right in the source production context. Yeah. Well, that's not going to work. It doesn't like that. It wants to be... So it's giving you a string. Fine. I don't really... But that's not right. Check Discord. Yeah, I'm flailing at this point. T-source needs to be your equatable array, doesn't it? Maybe? Sorry, this has really gone off the rails quickly. I expected this to be much simpler. Yeah, now it doesn't even know what the hell I want. Getting kind of frustrated here. Damn it. Sorry. I'm... Because incremental value provider will give 1 at a time versus incremental. Yeah, I know. Well, okay, I know, but I don't... What is it now? Oh. Still doesn't like it. Oh, because it's saying it's a... No. There! Now you can shut up. I don't like that, but whatever. 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 I don't care. We know they're all going to be... and so now what I could do here is say new equatable array of string. The type string cannot... Okay, so now what? Why are you trying to... Argument of type. It's just that it won't get rid of the goddamn null. Okay, wait a minute. Well, yeah, that doesn't really... This is really ugly. Bless it. What the hell? I know it's an immutable array string. I want them... Isn't it select, not where? It doesn't help. No. Select... Because no, so I want to do that, but then I want to say select this, but it won't let it do that either. Unless I have to say token there, but that doesn't really help, does it? It's still an immutable array of string. It's not, it literally will not. Because there's this one spot where I'm returning null. And yes, I could say for now just make it an empty string. It's... Well, now it's said it's an immutable array of string. Now everything works. I don't have to do any of this, right? Because the source should be an immutable array of string. There should be an implicit conversion now too, right? Yeah, there is. Okay, fine. Whatever. F it. I don't care. It works. Dear Lord. And then actually we can just pass this in right now here. Why not? Oh, fine. That works. Because that's an immutable array, but passing it in directly does not work. whatever. I just want an example. Grr. Okay. What we want to do now is we'll eventually make models and all that other kind of stuff, but we want to say we don't need an indented text writer yet. We do want to do something like this. And we don't have a name for this. We can just call it what do we want to call the file? SRE interception. G.cs. And then what we want is that, sort of. Actually, what we could do put the comments in here, and then we want to say source where string not string is null or white space. Because we don't want to include this one here. So we get the content here, say that, and we're done. Okay, second part. I mean, obviously there's many parts of this. But we want to have a class library called tests. Sure, we'll probably change that. All right. We're probably going to need all of this to some degree. Okay, we can leave target framework as 4.8. That's what we want. We don't need this. We want that. Sure. Except this. Yeah, you suck. That. Let's... What did I mess up? What? What? Wait, what? Okay, why are you barking here? Did not expect project. Really now? You did not expect project. I don't understand. What the hell? I don't get that at all. That's a fun one. Okay. All right. Whatever. No, let's say sync. And we want to call this for lack of a better term. Okay, now an interceptor is just a source generator, so we should be able to write a test with code that we're expecting to come in the output. Right? Right. Okay, so we're going to have to copy and pasta some code again. Test assistance. Why are you complaining? That's right. Okay. Forgot about that. Don't need this. Now you should see that. Good. Run generator. Run analyzer. Get .NET 9. We need the generator. We don't need the analyzer. Oh, what the? A little bit too much there. There we go. May need the analyzer later, but we don't need it now. Sure. Okay. So now if we wrote a test, we should be able to do something like this. And then we want var generated code, which we don't know what that's going to look like yet. Okay. And then we want this. Or what is the name? We expect the file name to be this. EmitDebugging generator. Okay. Now, what we also need is valid code. So we want to take something like app domain is in system. Okay. We're going to keep this as simple as we possibly can. No. So we need system. Do you need this all to be within, or can you do this as a top level? That would be nice. Let's just try that. Why did you copy and paste twice? I don't get why it does that. Now what is assembly builder access? That is system reflection emit. So we're going to need that. Okay. We need the module. We're just going to do one for now. And I know I don't have the... Why is it copying and pasting twice? I don't understand that. I'm not asking for it to do that. So let's put... Oh, just one this time. Example. Okay, so we have an assembly name. What is that in? You're not going to tell me, are you? System reflection. Yeah, gotta make sure I grab that one too. Okay, so we should have all the things that we have typed here. Now this is, if it succeeds, it's still going to fail because we don't know what the generated code is going to look like. So let's run this and let's see my computer blow up. Okay, it failed. Why? But why though? It didn't make the file at all. Okay. It should have picked this up, right? It should have. This is why whenever somebody goes into the Discord channel and says, I am making a source generator, I am making an analyzer, I'm doing this, how do I test it? And everybody says, write a unit test. And they're like, I don't want to, it's too hard. I want to. No, actually, for one thing, no, it's not that hard. And two, you also, it's not that hard, and you should just write tests anyway. Have you heard about the C# testing? I do that in another project. I have mixed feelings on that. It can give you some you don't have to retract your message. I have some mixed feelings about it because what it also does is it puts the highlighting in and the colorization in, but it puts it all like also as highlighted code, and so it looks a little weird in VS. But I don't know. I have heard about it, but I'm just not doing it. Oh, a typo. Okay. All right, so let's just make sure that we're actually getting into our code here. What does a node look like here? Define dynamic assembly. Okay, cool. So that actually worked. And then we should... Oh, wait. Okay, well... Unable to cast object of type invalid operation. Well, now, don't make it personal. How is that an invalid operation? Let's take this code. Let's just go to old demo. And let's put in code dump. Yeah, I get it, because there's already a file there that has top level same, but this all looks correct. You can fix that in the background issue and fonts and themes. Okay, that's fair enough. Well, this looks correct. Let me just, because I don't want to fight this too much, let's just put this into like a public static class emit test. And we'll say public static void run. You don't want to execute code. That sounds harsh. Okay, so now let's take everything out of here and come to our test and run this. Still, it's an invalid operation to that's interesting. I did not expect that. It's an invocation expression. Doesn't have diagnostics. check something here real quick on his example. So he's saying if the node is an invocation expression syntax, where the expression is a member X, which it is in our case, the name, whatever, invocation, then he is just doing the context node. But for some reason, well, this is not what I expected. What happens if we say here, it's an invalid one. But it's not. Unless it's not. Okay, hold on. Stop. Let's do this. Let's kind of do it. If this is invocation operation, and then we'll do that. No. We'll take that out, take that off. There. I don't need com types. Do not need com types. What happens now? Okay, failed again. That's fine. App domain does not contain a definition for defined dynamic assembly. Oh, wait a minute. Shoot. Oh, crap. Yeah. Of course there wouldn't because there's no app domain. My test is running in 4.8, but my actual generator test is targeting 9. I don't want that. I also realize it shows when using it missing one highlight, done full 180 on the feature and love it now. Yeah, I'm fine with it if you know what I mean. Okay, this is shoot crap. Damn it. Well, okay. Thinking. We can run the tests using 9 just to make sure we're generating the right code. The integration tests after running its 4.8. Wow, this is getting to be kind of a mess. But that's okay. We can deal. No. We want is it 9 or is it? I forget. 9-0. Wait, you don't have target framework monikers memorized in your head? Of course not. Okay, so now we need to change the testing code up a little bit because it's no longer this example. It's going to be this one. We want assembly builder to look like this. And we want module, and then assembly builder will do this, and then module builder. Now, this one is from where? Is from, no, I don't need a calculator up. Thank you very little. System reflection emit. Okay, so we have that here. And we have the assembly name, which is fine. And then we can say define dynamic module, except all we do is give it the name, right? Okay. Now what happens? Fail, but why did it fail? Well, would you look at that? It actually, Okay, so that's another step. Still haven't done interception yet, but that's another step. It did pick up that we have defined dynamic module there. Okay, let's go a little farther. Let's say we added type to our code. And actually, let's throw in constructor, because, you know, why not? We're like here. So we have type here. We don't have a type name. We're going to just put in GUID generator. And all of these should already be, yeah, because there's system reflection. We already have that there. And a constructor. Those should all be reflection, and they are. And then, you know, we're on, I think, a roll here. Let's put in the type constructor builder. Okay, now what happens? Fails, and how does it fail? Would you look at that? Okay, cool. So we're getting a little bit of a start. So let's now, again, why the double paste? I don't understand that. Is it because there's not an extra line at the bottom? Yeah. Hey, first test passes. Now this, again, no interception in place, but at least we now have the detection points in place. So we know, like, yes, we are, even though it's a persisted assembly builder, it is still assembly builder. And so it's looking at saying, yes, it is, those two types will equal. If we go back to our code here, and it will say those two types are the same types. One derives from the other, but it does pick up the module. It does pick up the type, the constructor, and the IL generator. Cool. So that's actually a good first step. Have one test passing, no interception yet. Okay, good thing I caught that. And this is the fun thing about writing source generators. Fun is your context of your code that you're generating and the code that you're examining and what runtime it's running against. Like, it took me a second to realize that, yes, my project was targeting 4.8, but the generated code is targeting 9.0 because of this reference assemblies. And I don't think they have the same concept of reference assemblies with .NET Framework. I don't know. But again, this is just tests. These are not integration tests. So as long as I can drive the test so that it generates the code that I think is correct, that's good enough. The integration test is actually going to execute the interceptor and see if we're intercepting things correctly. So that will be the next step. So I feel good about this, and good-ish about it. It was a little frustrating at the beginning, but we got some progress in place. And so the next thing what we're going to want to do is now generate code that actually does the interception. So let's at least get the attribute in there. And let's at least start setting up some things. Can you do that? You should be able to do that, right? Jason, what are you talking about? Namespace. My wonderful namespace. Fine, screw you. Another. Beautiful. What a wonderful world. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Okay. So we're going to come up to here. We're going to go analysis. And like what I do on my other projects is I have... Oh, I didn't do that here. Rocks I did because Rocks is so complicated. So I have like separate directories for the models and the generators and everything because it becomes such a mess. And I might end up doing that with this, but yeah. We might want to have a builder. Okay. And then we'll have an internal static class. What this does, internal static string build. And this takes an equatable array of string locations. For now, again, all this is going to change. This is like the proof of concept before the big proof of concept, which is fine. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to have a let's use a string builder from now on. So we want to have a private static string build interception attribute string builder. Okay. And so this will end up being a little bit slower, but that's okay. Again, PLC build interception attribute. First of all, we need a... Oh, you already did it. Thank you. I didn't even notice it was doing the right thing. Builder. Then we want to say for each of our locations. Thank you. Thank you. And then, except we want to say append line. And then return yes. So then here we want to say here emit builder build locations source, and then we get rid of this session body member and we move on. Okay. Now here, we want to build the interceptions attribute. So, builder, I don't know exactly what this is going to do if I have a raw string literal in play. Guess what? We're going to find out. Yeah, you don't like that because, again, Russian body members. But I love them, and you should love them too. Okay, what is this complaining? Cannot implicitly convert type. Oh, it doesn't return anything. Okay, so now we need to be a little bit more like, where does conditional come from? System diagnostics. Global system diagnostics. I need a post build. I'm not necessarily sure I want that like that. So we want a sealed file class. Attribute usage is global system, I believe. Yeah, it's system. Okay. And then it should also be this. All multiple is true. Global system attribute. And that should be good enough. Okay. The reason, and you might be wondering, why did I just do all this? It's because, why did I fully qualify them? It's because that's what you should do when you're writing a generator. Fully qualify everything, because it's going to make your life so much easier. I just saw a couple days ago somebody in one of the Discord servers for .NET, where somebody's like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to, they're saying I'm on a contract where the group that's contracting me says they don't want to see fully qualified names. They want to see like regular code that you would write. And everybody's telling them, no, don't do that. I used to do that in Rocks. That's that main source generator I wrote, which is, it would try to put using statements at the top of the file, and it would try to figure out all the using statements you would need, and then it wouldn't have to do the global thing there. And long story short, it ends up becoming more of a pain in the butt than you really want it to be. It is so much easier to generate code where you're using fully qualified names than to try to put using statements at the top. There's other things that you can do too, like if you're generating code, you have to be careful. Well, in Rocks I did, because if you're inheriting from stuff, you don't have control over names of other types within namespaces and names of parameters coming in, and so you have to be careful about how you name variables and stuff like that. But also types within namespaces that you don't own. You have to be really careful about that too. And I had something in there that will generate a type name and put like a 2 or a 3 at the end to make sure it's unique. But I also put @ signs in front of all my parameter names that I was generating in Rocks, because then you don't have to worry about, well, if somebody used the word event as a parameter name, you can use that then. You just put the @ sign in front of everything. So anyway, long story short, that's why this is here. The whole conditional thing there, I'm not sure, because, what happens if you want it there for debug? What happens if you want it there for release? I'm not quite sure I agree with that, putting that there, but that's okay. So we're going to put that in there, and we should put a little space at the end. Actually, let's not. Let's do builder pen line, and then we'll do that. And so now what happens when we run our test? Assuming I didn't screw this up, because I'm giving it to the build. The builder should return that. So now what is our test doing? Probably bad things. That's okay. We don't mind bad things, as long as they're fixable. Looks like it did stuff. Yeah, hey, look at that. Didn't put an extra line in there, but that's okay. I did actually put everything on a separate line, so that's kind of nice. I like that. Let's grab all this. And this doesn't seem to scroll like an uncontrollable beast anymore either, so I don't know, that seems nice. Let's take that and do a H this to that. Now run that. Failed. Okay, well that's closer. Why did it do that though? I was expecting the append line to, I guess if you don't put anything in here, and I know you shouldn't be relying upon environment new line in. Yeah, now I bet it needs the line here. Yeah, okay. So now we have the intercept location attribute built in. So that's good. Now we're going to be coming to the big part. And this is where I'm going to stop because I got some stuff to do today in the morning. I got to cut my lawn because I got to do that before I leave for San Diego tomorrow. And then I want to work out before lunch. And then after lunch, I'm probably going to be playing some Halo. So I wanted to get to a point where at least I feel like I'm starting to make some progress. I feel like I'm starting to get there. It's not perfect yet, obviously. So the big thing that's going to need to happen in the generated code is we need this attribute there. That was the first thing. Then we're going to need like a namespace, EmitDebugging content. I don't know what I'm going to call it. And one of the things I'm going to have in here is and I don't know if this is the right order class. Emit context, something like that. And this will have a public static dictionary of something in here. And this will be called context or something like that. And I'll make sure I delete all this before I end the stream. So that's going to have to be there. And then what we're going to need is start needing some, every source generator dev, myself included, always starts out thinking I'll just determine the usings, but eventually realizes the people recommending fully qualified names are right. Yeah. And it's from just either you built the actual stuff underneath with source generators, you know the thing to do, or you just found it from hard-won knowledge. Again, if you look back at previous versions of Rocks, you can find, where at some point I changed it over, and I haven't. The other thing that using fully qualified names also gives you an out on is, and yes, I have found a case where this occurs, where you have two types with the same exact names, fully qualified names, in two different assemblies, two different packages. That can happen. And the way to get around that is you give one of them an alias. So you put that in like your project settings and you say this assembly has an alias of whatever you name it. And then that alias actually goes where global goes. And so then you can specifically say that type from that assembly is the one I'm referencing here. You can't there's no way to get around that using statements. Now you can say that's a rare thing, and I'd be like, yes, that is true, but that using fully qualified names, using this global syntax is the way to go because it gives you full flexibility. And the thing with generated code is people sometimes forget is it's not necessary for somebody for it to be readable per se, just executable. That it does what it's supposed to say it's doing. That's what you really care about. You're not really supposed to care, does it match the coding standards, formatting everything that somebody is doing? That's why you name the file g.cs. I'll eventually put up nullable enable, but I'll also put in the auto-generated comment at the top because those are hints to compilers and IDEs to say, ignore this for all the rules that are set in editor config, because there's no way that you're going to be able to write code, at least not easily, that's going to be formatted the way somebody wants it to be formatted. That's a path of pain, to say the least. Okay. So again, what I want here now is I'm going to say like intercepts location, and this will be some version with some content of string here. Okay. And then this would be, well, we'd have like static file class, assembly builder intercepts. And then here we would put in, you know, all the times that that happens. Hopefully that's the intent. And then we'd have a public static. This returns a module builder. Define dynamic module. I don't think your names of the things have to match. And then whatever this would be. And in here is where we would do our stuff to reach up into context. Start stuff. Etc. You know, all that we want to do. The point of everything that I'm showing here right now is because all of this is going to be in one file. The context will be there, the intercepts will be there. None of this is going to be viewable by the user. They'll never see this because it's all file scoped. But it will work, assuming I write it correctly. Okay, and by having this context here, I'll know as the author of this code that only I am the one that can manipulate this context. So I don't like static shared members. They're not the greatest, but this is the best option I have. And again, everything in the file will be able to see anything else in the file, so this will all work correctly. So something like that. That's what I'm going to be doing the next time I do a random code stream, which won't be until probably Sunday, because again, I'm going to be gone to San Diego. So that'll be the next attempt. Let me just back all this out because I don't want it in my test, and this should now pass. Okay, so let's put in that in there. Just say a 6 added intercepts attribute. The next time I do this, and I'm going to make sure that I don't tempt myself too much when I'm in San Diego if I'm looking for something to do on the beach. But I'm not intending on trying to, you know, write some stuff. I might at least come up with the structural parts of that code that I just showed you and see if I can emit that and that it works at least correctly-ish. But that's about as far as I'm going to go. So with that, I am going to stop the stream. I want to thank everybody who's been watching either now or in the future. If you haven't subscribed to the channel just yet, please do so. We'd greatly appreciate it, as I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. So any new subscription helps. If you've already subscribed, appreciate you for doing that. I will be playing Halo Reach this afternoon. Maybe in the evening. We'll see. But I'll do 1 or 2 streams of that this afternoon. The next time I do a random code stream, at the earliest, will be this upcoming Sunday. So with that, I am going to stop the stream. Thank you all for watching. Take care. Hope to see you in the future.